Today, we want to look at the last part of the Oracle query languages. Before we move on to the last part, which is the group by, let's discuss about the assignments that I assigned to you guys in the previous video. In order to retrieve the name of all employees who have no dependent, that requires you to find out every single one of the employees, so you can find all the employees. Basically, can select SSN from the employee. That gives you a full list of the employee and who has no dependents, because you want to find the people who has no dependents. So if you use the everyone minus the one that has dependents, then you can get the social security number who has no dependents. And in this case, when we try to select ESSN from the dependent, what you will get is that you can get a list of the employees who do have the dependent. So when you use the full list to minus that one, you get the social security numbers of the employees that does not have any dependent. Since we want the name of all the employees, we need to join that back to the employee to retrieve the name. So that is how we would be able to do to retrieve the name of all employees who have no dependents. The last part of the query is about the grouping operations. Before we fully move into the group by instruction, I want to let you guys see that the select operation is actually very powerful. You already know select is like the filter that can get only the attributes you are interested in. On top of that, it can actually do several mathematical calculations. For example, what you're going to see here is that suppose we want to generate a report, and that report requires the people's social security number, so you know who is the one that you are looking at, their salary, and how much tax they pay, assuming tax is the salary multiplied 25%. In this case, what we are going to do is that we can generate a report looks like this way. We can create a table report as, now take a look of this select up carefully. We select social security number, we select salary from the employee. That is already known. What I can show you over here is this one. Salary multiplied 0.25, indicating 25% of the salary, so that you can do some calculations like that. And then with a space, this is what we call a rename operation. You will see that again in this class line. Then what you are going to do is that for this calculation, you want to save the name for this type of calculation as tax, TAX. So when you do that, you can rename whatever you have over here into the space name that you provide. That can be done in any select operation. So you can change your social security number into something weird, like a social security number or whatever you want it to be. When you do that, you will be able to see that the information has been saved as a report. So you can see if we try to select star from the report, we will be able to get the information looks like this. You can get social security number, salary, and their tax information. The tax information, again, is coming from the rename operation. So you calculate that and save that in a different name. If you want to do some save the table that you query, then you have to do a rename for any kind of operations that you are going to do. If you just simply say select SSN salary times 25%, then you don't need to do the rename since you don't save the table. On top of that, the select has actually more functionality, and these functionalities are like built-in functions. So you can actually do some average, maximum, minimum, or any attributes that you are interested in. You can also count how many things are there. And if you use count star, that means you can count those tuples, including the null values. So let's take a look of these operations. So for example, you want to find the average salary of the whole company. To do so is very straightforward. You can simply say select average salary from employee. So let's take a look of this one. If we want to do that, we can do the operation and we can run that into the Oracle. So once we put a semicolon over here, you find the average salary looks like that. We can also say that I want to find the minimum salary. So I can do select, let me make it minimum salary, MIN. So salary is SALARY from Greek. So when we do that, you can easily find the minimum salary. You can find the maximum salary as well. So that is just a command that you can use. And of course, you can get several things at the same time. So you can find the minimum and find the maximum. So if we try to find the minimum salary, at the same time, you can easily see the values that has been retrieved over there. So if we want to do count, you can count on certain attributes. So if you still recall, when we try to select count from supervisor social security number from the employee, what you will be able to see is that we have totally 8 employees. And if you still recall, one of our employees does not have a supervisor. So if we look into this table, you can see that supervisor social security, there's a null value over here, which James, if we remember correctly, he's like the boss. So he does not have any supervisor. So if we simply count supervisor SSN, then we will get only 7. However, if we count star, we will be able to include the null value and then see how many individual tuples that we have so that we can get 8 over here. By doing so, we can generate a summary of all kind of information that we want into a select, and this gives you an example of that to show you that select is actually pretty powerful in terms of doing many different operations. So once we are able to find the average salary of the company, we may want to get some more detailed information. Because if you still recall, in this company, we have 3 departments. And some departments is probably making more money than the others. And therefore, we may want to find the average salary for each department. By doing so, we need to group those departments together and then find the maximum, minimum, average salaries of each department. To do so, we have to introduce the last operations I want to talk to you guys about, which is group by. This group by is indicating that you want to group things together and then try to see the information out of it. Let's directly look into an example. So now, instead of finding the average salary from the employee, we want to group by DNO, so we can look into the department numbers and then group those of them together. By doing so, if we try to run this code over here, you see that it will generate 3 values out of it. And those are the average salaries for each department. And you may be curious that, hey, wait a minute, how do I know which one is which one? How do I know that this is from which department? And the answer is very straightforward. You can easily know that because the information is there. All you need to do is you provide that information saying that, hey, I need DNO. I also want to know how many people in each department. So if you run this code over here, you will basically get all the information you are interested in. Department number, count star indicating how many people working for that department and what is the average salary for them. So if we try to sum up what we have discussed earlier, we can also rename this average salary as average salary. So this is going to be more human-oriented than the coding oriented. So by doing so, you will be able to change that attribute name into average salary, and then you will be able to get the results looks like this. And that is how we are able to combine the rename operation, the more powerful, what we call generalized select operation, as well as grouping operation. So to make sure you guys understand these operations, we want to look into a very interesting query. This one is relatively more difficult than all other operations we have seen before. And let's take a look at this one. The question is asking that list the name of all employees with 2 or more dependents. So how do we work on this one? How do we tackle this problem? So we want to find the name of all employees with 2 or more dependents, which means that we need to find out who has more than 2 dependents. To do so, if we looked into the dependent information, then what we will be able to see is that the dependent has actually quite a few people over here. This obviously 333445555 has 3 dependents. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 has 3 dependents. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 has only 1 dependent. We will be able to look into the dependent table and tell those informations. However, how can we let computers to look into that and then find the informations that we need? And therefore, of course, grouping is the one that we need to do. So to do the grouping, what we will need to do is that we want to select ESSN, find out who has the who is the person, and we try to count how many of those dependents are being generated or grouped. So from the dependent, and we want to say group by ESSN. So simply, if we simply run this part of the code, what you can see is that we will be able to group by the ESSN, knowing that this employee has 3 dependents, this employee has 3 dependents, this employee has only 1 dependent. So we can easily using the grouping function to help us finding out who has more than 2 dependents, or find out exactly how many dependents do they have. So what I'm trying to do is that I can save that operation, save those operations as the temp table. And then since I already have the information I need, all I need to do is I'm trying to join the 2 tables together by doing the Cartesian product and provide the equal join operation and adding, saying now I only care about the one who has more than 2 dependents, finding out their first name and last name, and we will be able to get the answers out of it. So you can see that the grouping function is actually very helpful for any queries that has a specific number. So I can easily change this question into list the name of all employees who has 3 or more dependents. And all of these operations will be able to help us generate the information that we need. That is everything I want to discuss with you guys about a query. I want you guys to have the last practice for the class assignment. This is going to be about find the name of the employees who works on 2 or more projects. So you see that this is very similar to previous question, and I want you to find the name of the employees who work on 2 or more projects. And that concludes the video for the class today. See you guys next time.